Joshua Tree National Park sounds simple, but in reality, it's much more diverse than its name implies. Most people think it's just rocks, desert, and a few strange trees scattered across the landscape. But once you start exploring, the terrain starts changing in ways you don't expect.
Hi everyone, it's Urmi and Sanjay from Jetsetting with Us. I've actually been to Joshua Tree National Park twice before, about 5-6 years ago with my family. So when we started recording for the vlog, I said this park has to be on the list.
If you enjoyed taking nature-forward trips like hiking national parks, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with a friend of yours who might be visiting Joshua Tree soon. That being said, let's get into it.
Joshua Tree National Park sits in Southern California, about 2.5 hours east of Los Angeles, or roughly 3 hours east from San Diego, and about 3 hours west from Phoenix. For our trip, we flew into San Diego, rented a car, and made the drive out into the desert. Joshua Tree is one of those national parks where most of the park's landscapes are spread out along a long scenic road that runs through the middle of the park.
We stayed in the small town of Joshua Tree, which sits just outside the park's west entrance. It's one of the most convenient places to base yourself in terms of proximity, and it's only a 10 to 20 minute drive into the park from there. We've included some affiliate links below to help you book your rental car, flight, and hotel while staying in Joshua Tree. Next, let's get into the park and see what the place is actually like.
Despite the park's namesake being the Joshua Tree, one of the defining features of the park isn't the trees at all. It's the massive granite formations scattered across the desert floor. From a distance, they look like random piles of rock. But once you start walking through them, they begin to feel more like a maze.
Our first real hike in the park took us into these formations on, guess what it's called, the Maze Loop, where the trail winds through narrow corridors between towering granite walls.
We're here at the Maze Loop Trail. We actually did not find this one, a great deal of information about this one online, but according to the ranger at the visitor center, this one is worth doing and it's not that crowded. You can see the parking lot's pretty small. So if you're like us and you'd like to not be in a place with too many people, this is perhaps a good option. So we're gonna try this out and check in partway through the trail or maybe at the end of the trail. Hey everyone, so we went about an hour into the trail and it kind of feels like it's lovely, but it also feels like doing the whole 3 odd hours would be a lot of the same. So we're actually gonna turn back now. If you've got limited time, maybe do part of the trail and you can turn back, but I'm not really convinced there's anything worth seeing for 3 hours that you can't see in the first hour.
Later, we explored the split rock area, which winds through another cluster of granite formations. We enjoyed this trail a lot more than Maze Loop Trail.
This is the middle of the Split Rock Loop Trail, and I gotta say, this trail is awesome. I think this is a little bit more exciting. Definitely recommend this trail. We're having a great time. We did happen to make a wrong turn and actually missed half the trail, which we're not too happy about, but because of limited time, we're actually not gonna turn back and try to find the right way.
Not far from here is another famous area called the Hall of Horrors. We actually just stopped by because we saw the large quote-unquote backyard filled with Joshua trees, so we could get some good photographs and video. It turned out there's actually a slot canyon hidden amongst the rocks there. We totally missed it not realizing that.
After exploring the granite mazes lower in the park, we wanted to see Joshua Tree from high above. Ryan Mountain is one of the few hikes that allows you to climb high enough to look out across the entire desert.
This is the beginning of Ryan Mountain Trail. So the parking lot is actually pretty packed right now. It took us a couple circles to get out to find a parking spot. This is supposed to be the highest spot in the park, so we're gonna go check out this trail and see what it looks like.
The trail climbs about 1,000 feet over roughly 1.5 miles, winding its way up the rocky slope in a series of switchbacks. As you gain elevation, the perspective starts to change. The granite formations that felt enormous on the ground begin to look small against the wider desert. One thing you notice pretty quickly on this hike is that the view keeps getting bigger the higher you go, and yet everything on the ground keeps getting smaller.
I consider myself a pretty decent hiker, but due to the 1,000-foot elevation gain on this trail, I definitely needed to take my time. However, every stop to rest, I could take in the breathtaking scenery. Yes, pun intended.
All right, we just made it to the top of Ryan Mountain. And the views up here are awesome. This is actually the highest point in the entire park. So I think it was like about 1,000 feet of elevation gain. And it took Urmi and me about 1:45 to 2 hours just to get up here. We still have to go back down, of course. But had beautiful views the entire way up, which is amazing. But overall, definitely some beautiful views from up here. Highly recommend the hike.
From the summit of Ryan Mountain, we headed back down to explore some of the strangest and yet most famous rock formations found in Joshua Tree. One of the most surprising things about this park is that many of these rock formations look like they were intentionally shaped, rather than just the result of rock erosion over millions of years.
As you may have heard in other vlog episodes, Arches National Park is my favorite park. Well, Joshua Tree has its own arch, and once I heard that, we had to go see it. Arch rock is a natural granite arch that has slowly formed as softer sections of rock wore away over time. Sometimes the shapes are a little bit more unexpected. Hidden among the granite formations is heart rock, a small but perfectly shaped rock that somehow ended up looking exactly like its name. It was a coincidence, but we happened to be here on Valentine's Day. Just perfect.
And then there's Skull Rock. Unlike some of the other formations we discussed, this one is just a few steps from the main road, so it's really easy to grab a photo if you want one. For us, there was so much traffic at that time, we couldn't stop to get some great footage for you. But part of the fun of Joshua Tree is finding all these formations throughout the park. Next, we'll talk about a different area of the park where the landscape just completely changed, the Cholla Cactus Garden.
You may be surprised to hear that Joshua Tree sits at the meeting point of two different deserts. The Joshua trees are found at higher elevations in the Mojave Desert, but as you move lower in elevation, the landscape transitions into the Colorado Desert, home to the Cholla Cactus Garden, where thousands of these small, densely packed cacti cover the desert floor. When we passed through this area, the boardwalk was closed, but even from the roadside, you could see how different this part of Joshua Tree feels compared to the granite landscape elsewhere in the park.
After a couple of days of hiking in the park, Urmi and I wanted to test out just how good the stargazing actually is. It turns out Joshua Tree is an international dark sky park, so we were super excited to give it a try. We found a cove a little bit off of a parking lot, but unfortunately, the traffic was still so heavy in and out that headlights kept ruining most of our photographs. We did manage to get a couple of good ones which we're showing on screen right now. So definitely, if you're visiting Joshua Tree, take an hour or two to check out the stargazing at night. I might add, don't forget the desert does get colder at night, so bring a few extra layers. I forgot and I was freezing out there while Urmi grabbed these beautiful photographs.
After a few visits to Joshua Tree, here are our pro tips for visiting the park. Tip number 1. Traffic can be absolutely brutal to get into the park, especially depending on the time of year you decide to visit. If you like your beauty sleep just like we do, expect a rough time to get in. We waited over an hour. If you're staying on the north side of the park ranger recommended going to the north entrance instead of the west entrance.
Tip number 2. Signage for some of the viewpoints and hiking trails can be a little bit off in some places. We found that offline maps are super helpful for us, especially on the trails. You probably don't need to download offline maps for the roads, although it never hurts to do that as well.
Tip number 3. If you're planning to go stargazing, be sure to find an isolated spot that's far away from parking lots or the main road. We really struggled to get a couple good shots because people kept driving through the parking lot with headlights on, as we noted before. On a related note, be sure to bring a flashlight if you're going a little bit further off trail to make sure you can get back to your car afterwards.
And finally, tip number 4. Winter is an outstanding time to go visit this park. It's in the desert, and obviously you don't want to necessarily try some of these harder hikes in that desert heat. So if you're able to make it somewhere between December and March, that's a perfect time to go try some of the longer hikes. So now that I've been to Joshua Tree and Ormi has been multiple times, here's what it really feels like to go to this park. We'll first note that the namesake of the Joshua Tree is beautiful, and yet it's only one important piece of the entire landscape. We felt like there are multiple unique features of this park, including the granite formations, which have to be seen to be believed, as well as the cactus garden. Don't forget, this is really 2 deserts merged into one park, and some of the viewpoints you get are just absolutely incredible. Another piece we'll add here is that for Ormi, this is one of her top 5 national parks. I think it was great, probably not top 5 for myself, but definitely worth a visit. And especially since it's so easy to get to from LA or San Diego or Phoenix, I think everyone should give this park a try. Let us know in the comments below, what was your favorite feature when you visited this park? Or if you're planning a trip, what are you most excited to see?
And if you enjoy nature-forward trips such as this, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who may be traveling to another national park. It really helps us grow our channel. We look forward to seeing you on our next adventure. Bye for now.